Welcome to today's Equalink interview session with an extraordinary leader in international relations, peace and security, and sustainable development, Ms. Maria Fernanda Espinosa Garces. Thank you so much for being here.
We are very honored to have you here with us, and thank you so much for your willingness to share your experience with us. We are very excited to explore different perspectives of gender equality in international affairs together.
So before we are jumping into our interview questions in a few seconds, I would like to briefly introduce you to our audience, of course. So, Ms. Espinosa, you have over 30 years of experience in public policy, in international relations, in peace and security, and environmental and social issues. As the former president of the United Nations General Assembly, you were the fourth woman and the first from Latin America and the Caribbean to hold this this super exciting position. You have also held high-level government positions, including being Ecuador's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Integration, and also being Ecuador's Minister of National Defense. And leading international negotiations on climate change and peace dialogues, you were also Ecuador's first female ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations in New York and Geneva. And today you continue having super impressive and influential roles in the global arena, including being the executive director of GWL Voices. You're also the president of Cities Alliance. You're a member of the board of trustees of the International Crisis Group and a member of the Secretary General's Advisory Board on Human Security and High-Level Advisory Council for the UN Alliance of Civilizations. So we're deeply impressed by your outstanding career and the significant contributions you have made globally and you're continuing to make globally. Let's start with our questions. We're super excited to explore different perspectives on gender equality together here at Equalink.
Yeah, this is an amazing expertise. As we just hear in the introduction, that you were the fourth woman and the first from Latin America and the Caribbean to hold the president of the United Nations General Assembly. For the first question, we would like to know what impact do you believe your leadership has on promoting gender equality and diversity at the international level? And what strategies do you consider more effective in promoting the participation of women in decision-making processes?
Well, first of all, let me thank you, Janina and Claudia, for having me today, for the opportunity of this exchange. And I have to say that we tend to think that the presence, the power, the participation, and the influence of women in the international system is progressive. It keeps improving. And it's not the case. It's unfortunately not the case. That's why we need to continue advocating for more space, more power, and more participation of women in the international system. I think a token of that, a good example, is when you look at the most authoritative body of the United Nations system, which is the General Assembly. You said it so well, Claudia, that in almost 80 years, it's going to be 79 years, we have only had 4 women presidents of the UN General Assembly. And that, of course, shows that there is a lot of homework ahead of us to push for greater parity, for more spaces, and more representation. I'm not only the fourth woman, the first from Latin America, but the other 3 are or have been extraordinary women from countries of the so-called Global South. The first female president of the General Assembly was from India, Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit, also one of the architects of the UN Charter. The second president was Madame Brooks from Liberia, someone that had a pivotal role in the freedom and peace making in her country, Liberia, but also was a key into pushing the South African apartheid regime to come to an end. The third president was Justice and Sheikha Haya Al Rashid from Bahrain, and also an outstanding lawyer and justice and an expert on international law. And the fourth from Latin America, it's me from Ecuador again. So we are really very much looking forward to seeing a woman next time for the 80th session of the General Assembly. This time it is at the turn of Europe, of Western Europe, and we really hope and expect that a woman will be in the position. And believe me, it's not only about demographic justice, because we are a little bit more than 50% of the world's population. It is about quality. It is about bringing women's perspective in international decision making. The path is not an easy one, I have to say. There are many hurdles, many obstacles, prejudice, biases against women in leadership. And that's why the World Economic Forum, its chapters, women working in these spaces are critical, not only to raise awareness, to say 4 presidents in almost 80 years of the General Assembly. It is also to say, these are the contributions that these women have made throughout the building of a peaceful and sustainable international system. So we are putting forward, and here I speak as the CEO of Global Women Leaders Voices, GWL Voices, to say we are putting forward a campaign called Rotation for Equality, meaning that there is an alternation between men and women for the presidency. Hopefully, the coming year, we will have a woman and then a man, and alternate. If there are many more women, that would be great, because it would be, to close the historical gap of inequality. But at least we are saying, besides the regional rotation, because there is regional rotation, we need also a gender rotation for the presidency. And this is also very symbolic because of the importance of the General Assembly, the United Nations General Assembly, but because we want to reflect the world, the composition of the world, the agendas of the world, the issues that matter. And in the issues that matter, I think that women have a very important voice, experience, and wisdom to bring to the table in the international arena.
Thank you so much for these insights, and also for letting us know about GWL Voices. Great projects to achieve these goals. We hope that with the Women Economic Forum, of course, we can also be part of progress. I would now jump to our second question. For this one, I would like to focus on your experience as Ecuador's Minister of National Defense. I am always very interested in women, peace, and security perspectives, and as during your time as Minister of National Defense, you really implemented transformative reforms in the armed forces, advancing human rights and humanitarian standards. I would like to ask you if you could please share some of the challenges you say faced yourself during this position, and which you faced also in integrating a gender perspective in a traditionally, of course, male-dominated field, and how were you able to overcome these obstacles?
Well, thank you, Janina. Again, it has to be said that it's not very often that we have women leading the armed forces of a country. The female ministers of defense are more the exception than the norm. It's understood that the armed forces, the defense sector, has been historically male dominated, as you very well said. So it's not I would say, common that to have a female minister of defense, especially in the context of Latin America. So to break the stereotypes, to really exercise leadership, to leave a footprint, make the difference in the way women lead a space that is very vertical, very organized, hierarchical, and very male dominated. Historically, male dominated is a challenge. And you feel, to be also very frank, that you feel you have an extra weight, a responsibility to show that you're capable, to show that you're able to deliver. You said it very well. I felt the commitment and the responsibility, first of all, to pass internal policies for zero tolerance to sexual harassment, zero tolerance for gender discrimination within the armed forces, but also affirmative action encouraging more women to enter to choose the career in the armed forces, to be promoted, to be considered as equals with men in the military. And of course, you can pass many laws and regulations, which I did, but you need also mechanisms for compliance, for accountability, and you need to change the institutional culture, which I think it's the most difficult task. It takes time. It takes persistence. It takes the courage that I think that in the Ecuadorian armed forces that has happened. I think the situation has improved. When you look at the number of applicants to enter the military career, you see that the number of women are going up. You also see women in higher positions. There was a little push when I was Minister of Defense to fast track or to recognize the qualities, the capacities of women in the military, to push them, and to really give them the opportunity to have promotions into upper scales. When I arrived, I realized that even the rules for promotions, the conditions that were established to go to higher ranks in the armed forces were discriminatory. So we had to change all of that to make sure that the military environment and the armed forces was slowly going to be a gender equal space. And this again, we had to change internal policies, working methods, affirmative action for women, and in the case of Ecuador also, cultural diversity. We are a very, very diverse country. We have 15 indigenous nationalities living in Ecuador. So when you look at women that are Afro-Ecuadorian, from African descent, or indigenous women, and we have very, very few indigenous women in the armed forces. How to establish affirmative action, attract this diversity into the armed forces. This is not an easy endeavor, of course. Passing a law that for zero tolerance of racism and discrimination within the armed forces, this is an entire a cultural shift. It takes time, but it also, as I said again, it takes political courage and persistence, of course.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I think it also takes a lot of courage as a woman to work on this, and to work on this goal to have more women in the security sector, in the military also, because I really think that only as soon as there's going to be gender equality within the security sector as well, there will be we will be able to have sustainable peace and security. So thank you so much for your answer.
Yeah, that's really amazing because we have a lot of obstacles, but I think that right now we are really more positive and we are really try to be together like an agreement of groups that we are trying to make a really big impact. We are having this kind of conversation. We are going to have this focus that we have to be working together. So I think that is going to be really great, that kind of perspective. So with such a versatile career in fields like diplomacy, sustainable development, and human rights, for our last question, we would like to know, what do you consider to be the most decisive moments in your professional journey, and how have these moments influenced your vision on the importance of gender equality?
Well, thank you for your question, Claudia. I would say that when you are in public service and with big responsibilities, such as being the minister, or yeah, the foreign affairs minister, or the minister of defense, or you name it, it's a 24/7 work. And peak moments, almost, it's I was saying, it's extremely intense. And in our countries, things happen almost every day. And what you see is that, especially being Minister of Foreign Affairs, the working environment, your neighbors and your friends are extremely important in the work you do. And the truth is that this ecosystem of foreign ministers in Latin America and elsewhere are also extremely, male dominated. How many ministers of foreign affairs are there? I think a little more than 20 among 193. And again, this is a very much a male dominated environment. And you need the support, you need the cooperation, you need the working hand in hand on issues that are of common interest. In our region, particularly, issues of human trafficking, issues of organized crime, issues of um, um, internal conflicts within countries really require to exercise wisdom, restraint, knowledge, in an entourage, a working environment that allows you to deliver. And I have to say that, in my experience, uh, to be successful, you need diverse teams. You need teams where there is at least gender parity. I often work with more women than men. You need people that come from different backgrounds, in that can provide you different perspectives on and readings of reality. And you have to exercise also your um, wisdom, sensibility around issues that are important for the future of your country, of your region. And I would say, for example, we had at times very difficult relations with our neighboring country, Colombia. No, because it is with your neighbors where you have sometimes more tensions and difficulties, but also greater cooperation. And I have seen the difference between having a counterpart in our neighboring country of Colombia, that is a man, but also a woman. And the truth is that when the counterpart has been a woman, and there are very concrete cases, uh, I see that it's much easier to find agreement, to communicate, to find outlets to very difficult situations. And that has been my experience. And the truth is that when we say, gender equality, the leadership of women, sometimes we forget something that is extremely important, which is domestically When I was appointed foreign minister the first time, I realized that there was regulations, norms, and standards within the diplomatic service that were highly discriminatory for women. In fact, when I asked the list of female ambassadors to appoint them to important positions as ambassadors, in important destinations, I realized that there were extremely very few women ambassadors among the list of diplomats. If I'm not mistaken, there were 2 or 3 female ambassadors among 90, 100 something ambassadors. And that really, it was a wake up call to say there is something wrong, because my experience has been that women in diplomacy are extremely efficient, effective, and I have seen good results coming from female ambassadors. And so we had to change internal regulations, even the Foreign Service law, to make sure, for example, then where a couple in the diplomatic service got married, one of the two had to resign. For example, this is a 19th century regulation that existed when I was appointed. So we changed that, and then you see couples of diplomats having joint missions, especially when you have 2 embassies, one multilateral, one bilateral, when you have different consulates. So it is possible to have a couple go to the same destination, having different roles, no vested interest in the couple, but this can be done. So these very small details show you that there are many norms, policies, laws that need to be changed. But again, in this case, as in the armed forces, the culture needs to change. Now I see more and more outstanding female diplomats from my country. When I find young couples, married couples in the diplomatic sector, they're very thankful, because they remember that I had to change the law to make it happen, and for them to work together or travel to the same country together. No, and these issues. Sometimes we take them for granted. We think that it's the big outer space that we need to look at. Sometimes we need to look in-house and make the changes that need to happen. I really believe that we need more women in diplomacy, more women in the peace and security sector, more women in the field of diplomacy working on disarmament affairs, where we see a huge underrepresentation of women. We need more women represented in the top level of international organizations, including the position of the United Nations Secretary General. In 80 years, we have never had a female Secretary General. So I hope that next time it's going to be the time for a woman leading the organization.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was so insightful, and I think we learned a lot. I think it's also very impressive to hear about all the accomplishments you did and have had throughout your career that really served as inspiration for all of us. And very impressive also to hear about the fact of how important it is to really have these gender responsive strategies, and be it in big international organizations or in ministries or in big companies and organizations in general. So thank you so much. I think Claudia and I learned a lot, and so did our audience. And I really want to express my honor for being here.
Yeah, it was a completely honor to have you here to learn from you. In my expertise, I am from finance, so it was really interesting to know more about this kind of defense sector, and to know about the synergy that we can create in different backgrounds and different cultures that we have. So I think that is the most important. So also, I would like to invite everyone to stay connected with us, and we pave the ways towards the WEF Germany 2025. We have a lineup to inspire interview with women leaders from around the world, is sharing their unique expertises and insight on driving changes and promoting gender equality.
Well, thank you so much once again, Janine and Claudia. Um, I have to really thank you for this space and opportunity. I wish the best for Women Economic Forum Germany, and I hope that we can continue to collaborate.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I know you have a very busy schedule, and we are very grateful for being here together. And we also do hope that we can continue to collaborate on the challenge and the also beauty of creating more gender equality in different branches together. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, especially in the private sector, the corporate sector, there's a long way to go. It's not only in the public sector, it's everywhere. More women in the financial sector, leading the financial sector, more women in the small and medium enterprises, more women change makers. We have to be everywhere, in every place where decisions are made. So thank you again. All the best for Women Economic Forum Germany, and more to come, hopefully.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure to have you here.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you so
you.
much. Bye-bye. Have a good